Have you ever wondered why Venus, our closest neighbor, is often referred to as Earth's evil twin? This celestial body, second from the Sun, is the brightest natural object in our night sky, apart from the Moon. Venus is sometimes called Earth's evil twin due to its striking similarities, but also its deadly differences. On one hand, Venus is roughly the same size as Earth, and it's made up of the same rocky material. But on the other hand, the environment on Venus is anything but Earth-like. Venus has a thick atmosphere composed mostly of carbon dioxide, with clouds of sulfuric acid, making it an inferno world with surface temperatures hot enough to melt lead. And there's no water in sight. The harsh climatic conditions make it a stark contrast to our blue planet. So, while Venus might be our closest neighbor, it's far from a friendly one. Did you know Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system? Yes, you heard that right. Even though it's not the closest to the Sun, it's hotter than Mercury. But how can this be? It's all down to a phenomenon known as the runaway greenhouse effect. You see, Venus is wrapped in a thick blanket of carbon dioxide, with clouds composed of sulfuric acid. This dense atmosphere traps the Sun's heat and causes the surface temperature to skyrocket to an average of around 865 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to melt lead. And it's not just the heat. The pressure on Venus is another beast entirely. The atmospheric pressure on the surface is about 92 times stronger than what we experience here on Earth at sea level. To give you a sense of what that's like, it's akin to being about 900 meters underwater. That's deeper than the deepest part of our ocean. Imagine the weight of all that water pressing down on you, and you'll start to get a sense of what a spacecraft would experience on Venus. Now, the atmosphere isn't just thick and heavy, it's also toxic. It's made up almost entirely of carbon dioxide with trace amounts of nitrogen and other gases. But the real danger comes from the sulfur dioxide and sulfuric acid, which give the clouds their yellowish hue. These chemicals are lethal to humans and would corrode any unprotected metal almost instantly. So, we have a planet that's scorchingly hot, with crushing pressure and an atmosphere that's poisonous and corrosive. It's a place where no human could survive, and even our toughest machines find it hard to last more than a few hours. Venus, our neighboring planet, is a world of extremes. It's a place of fiery temperatures, crushing pressures, and deadly gases. It's a world that challenges our understanding and pushes the limits of our technology. No wonder scientists often refer to Venus as hell. How would you feel if a day lasted longer than a year? Sounds strange, right? But that's exactly what happens on Venus, our neighboring planet. Venus is a peculiar world, even by the standards of our solar system. It rotates on its axis just like Earth, but in a direction opposite to most other planets. This is known as retrograde rotation. But the most intriguing part about Venus's rotation is its speed, or rather, the lack of it. Venus has the slowest rotation of any planet in our solar system. A single rotation takes the equivalent of 243 Earth days. To put it into perspective, Venus takes longer to rotate once than it does to orbit the Sun, which only takes 225 Earth days. So on Venus, a day, the time it takes for a planet to rotate once on its axis, is actually longer than its year, the time it takes for it to orbit the Sun. This is the only planet in our solar system where this happens. This slow rotation contributes to some extreme weather conditions on Venus. The planet's atmosphere is in a constant state of turmoil. The thick clouds of sulfuric acid in the atmosphere move around the planet much faster than the planet rotates, creating hurricane-like winds that continuously sweep across its surface. These winds distribute the Sun's heat around the planet, making the temperatures between the day and night sides almost the same. This lack of a significant temperature difference is another unique characteristic of Venus's day-night cycle, vastly different from what we experience on Earth. So, Venus, a world where the Sun rises in the west and sets in the east, where a day lasts longer than a year, and where the day and night are almost the same temperature, is indeed a strange and fascinating place. Imagine celebrating your birthday every day. Well, if you lived on Venus, you wouldn't have to imagine. You'd be living it. Ever thought what the sky would look like if you stood on Venus? Well, let's take an imaginary journey. Picture yourself standing on the surface of Venus, our neighboring planet, and looking up at the sky. what would you see? Not a clear blue sky dotted with fluffy white clouds like here on Earth, I'm afraid. Instead, you'd be met with a constant, dull, yellowish atmosphere, a result of the thick cloud cover that perpetually shrouds the planet. These aren't your average cumulus or stratus clouds, though. The clouds on Venus are composed primarily of sulfuric acid, which gives the sky its unique, gloomy color. A far cry from the soft pastels of our earthly sunsets, wouldn't you say? But here's where it gets even more interesting. Imagine it begins to rain, but it's not a rain as we know it. This is sulfuric acid rain, a corrosive drizzle that could easily eat through metal. It's an alien concept to us Earth dwellers, isn't it? And yet, on Venus, such a downpour is rather commonplace. However, before you start imagining sizzling acid puddles, there's another twist. This acid rain never actually reaches the ground. Surprised? Well, Venus is known for its extreme temperatures, with the surface being hot enough to melt lead. This intense heat causes the falling acid rain to evaporate before it can touch the ground, creating an endless cycle of evaporation and condensation. In essence, Venus is a world of perpetual cloud cover and acid rain that never quite makes it to the surface. It's a fascinating, if somewhat unsettling concept. And while it might make for an intriguing science fiction setting, it would certainly be a challenging environment for a leisurely stroll. So, a walk on Venus might not be the most picturesque stroll, but for those of us with a thirst for knowledge and a taste for the extraordinary, it's a sight to behold indeed. Why should we care about this hostile, hellish planet, you might ask? Well, Venus, our closest planetary neighbor, is not just a fiery world of mystery, but a rich source of scientific knowledge as well. When we study Venus, we're peering into a cosmic mirror. Despite its current inhospitable state, Venus shares striking similarities with Earth. Both planets are about the same size, made of similar materials, and located within our sun's habitable zone. By studying Venus, we can gain insights into how planets form and evolve over time. Venus also serves as a stark reminder of the impacts of climate change. It's believed that Venus was once a water-rich world, much like Earth. But a runaway greenhouse effect transformed it into the scorching pressure cooker environment we see today. Studying Venus can help us better understand the potential consequences of our own planet's changing climate. But it's not just about looking backwards. Venus may also hold clues to our future and the possibility of life elsewhere in the universe. Some scientists theorize that microbial life could survive in the cooler, upper layers of Venus's atmosphere. If we were to find life on Venus, it would dramatically shift our understanding of where and how life can exist. Finally, studying Venus can guide our future space exploration efforts. The challenges posed by Venus's extreme conditions push the boundaries of our technology and innovation. Overcoming these challenges not only brings us closer to Venus, but also prepares us for the exploration of other planets. So, why should we care about Venus? Because it's like a living laboratory for studying planetary evolution, climate change, and the search for life. Each discovery we make on Venus brings us one step closer to answering some of the most fundamental questions about our place in the universe. Venus, despite its harsh conditions, holds the key to many of our space exploration questions.